Welcome to my presentation titled Cooperative Market Entry Modes within the framework of market entry strategies. My name is Mario Glowik, and you will find the content in more detail to read in Chapter 3 of the book Market Entry Strategies, Internationalization Theories, Concepts and Cases. At the end of this session, we should know major characteristics of strategic alliances and joint ventures, and we should find the answer why they are established and why they fail. Strategic alliance is established to strengthen the participating firms' competitive positions in the markets. And then strategic alliance indicates an agreement between two or more participating firms targeting business objectives that are rather long-term oriented. An international strategic alliance indicates a working partnership between firms across national boundaries in the same or different industries. One prominent example of an international strategic alliance is the Star Alliance in the aviation industry, where Lufthansa, Air Canada, United, Scandinavian Airlines, and other airlines have joined their distribution channels. The alliance members often share strategically relevant resources, such as client data and distribution channels. And strategic alliance with a local firm may facilitate entry into a foreign market because of the regional expertise and market goodwill of the local alliance partner. In various industries, firms have to decide on common technological or industry standards, particularly at the beginning of a new technology or product life cycles. And therefore, strategic alliances help to implement common technological standards for the future. A successful alliance of companies can look forward to promising earnings. And the question is why? And the answer is the defeated alliance of firms in terms of another competing technological standard have to license the superior technology against payment of royalties. There's a prominent example in electronics industries. For example, Toshiba and Microsoft joined in an alliance concerning high-definition DVDs against another strategic alliance targeting the Blu-ray technology. Prominent members of the Blu-ray alliance are Sony, Panasonic, Philips, Samsung, LG Electronics, and other firms. And finally, Toshiba had to give up the DVD technology and had to join the Blu-ray technology. So against payment of royalties. In case of a strategic alliance, firms participating in a strategic alliance remain legally responsible for their own business. And in most cases, a strategic alliance is established as a non-equity corporation, meaning that the partners do not commit mutual financial investments. However, firms may decide to establish a strategic alliance in which one partner acquires a stake in the other partner, or where both partners mutually hold equity participations. If the alliance partner is located in a foreign market, the equity participating firm undertakes a foreign direct investment. Let's come to the question why strategic alliances fail. So first of all, technology standard or the technology standard of the alliance participating firms doesn't become industry standard, or divergent opinions of the alliance member concerning alliance aims and objectives, and the business strategy change of the alliance participants. Let's start introducing a joint venture. And joint venture, in comparison to an alliance, indicates an agreement between two or more legally independent firms, independent from their parent firms. And in a joint venture, these firms pool their capabilities and resources in order to share their business. So once again, a joint venture indicates a legally independent company, legally independent from their parent firms, and this is not the case for strategic alliances. The controlling parties, joint venture parents, contribute assets, equity, and share its business risks depending on each party's equity contribution. An international joint venture describes an arrangement where at least one parent organization is headquartered outside the venture's country of operation, and the venture has significant level of operations in more than just one country. This illustration is designed to support you in order to find the appropriate borderline in between an strategic alliance and a joint venture. So first of all, both belong to cooperative strategies. The first question is there any third legally independent company established? If the answer is no, then the question is at least one partner is located abroad. If the answer is no, then we talk about a strategic alliance. If the answer is yes, then we talk about an international strategic alliance. And in both cases, we distinguish strategic alliances without capital, without equity participation, and with capital participation. That is the same for international strategic alliances as well as for domestic strategic alliances. In comparison, when we answer the question, is there a third legally independent entity established? And the answer is yes. Then we deal with joint ventures. The next question is then at least one partner is located abroad. If the answer is no, then we talk about a joint venture, domestic joint venture. If the answer is yes, then we talk about an international joint venture. And in both cases, always joint ventures come along with equity, come along with money, with financial investment, which is not necessarily the case for strategic alliances. And that's why we distinguish international or national joint ventures in between minority, equity, and majority joint ventures. Equity joint ventures mean both parties contribute 50% of equity. Minority joint venture, from the perspective of the minority partner, equity partner means that this partner holds less than 50%, as for example 49%. Majority means more than 50%. That means that partner holds, for example, 51 and more percent. And that's why, depending on the equity ratio, depending on the investment, We distinguish in between minority, majority, and equity joint venture. And depending on the investment, then the partners have different decision power in that joint venture. Why joint ventures are established? So first of all, market entry in case of host governments favor or insist on joint ventures with local partner firms. That means sometimes there's no other way than establishing a joint venture in order to arrange a foreign market entry in a particular target country. Joint ventures are established in order to join research and development, sales and manufacturing facilities to compensate, for example, own resource drawbacks. And joint ventures are established in order to target outsourcing of poorly performing businesses to a joint venture. That happens in business reality. For example, there's a large firm and a multinational firm, for example, and the management realizes that there's one business unit which performs below expectations, and then the management may have to decide whether to shut down or whether to outsource that business unit to a joint venture partner, to a legally independent joint venture, hoping that both partners then better perform than in case they stay alone. And that's why we can find in the press releases when joint ventures are established or announced, usually the terminology synergy effects. So the management then announces, for example, we have found an appropriate partner, and hopefully through combining both firms' resources and capabilities, we are better able to serve our markets, generating mutual synergy effects. And this leads us to deal with the questions why joint venture fail. You should be very careful when establishing a joint venture. We may also call this instead of joint venture, joint adventure. And according to academic empirical data, most of the joint ventures fail. Keep this in mind, please. And here we have some reasons why. So first of all, there's a risk of opportunistic behavior, such as attempts to hide strategically important knowledge. This favors finally that the joint venture will fail due to a lack of mutual trust and partners' willingness to commit resources. And another reason why joint ventures fail is the lack of appropriate organizational structures, uncertain managerial roles and rules, and nebulous decision authority, which negatively influence the performance of the joint venture. It may also happen that one joint venture partner considers to renegotiate the joint venture contract in terms of the ownership and control structures, and this usually also causes some tensions and may result in a joint venture failure. And last but not least, there's always a potential of misunderstanding and difficulties in communication due to diverse language and cultural backgrounds, particularly for the case of international joint ventures, which finally result in a lack of mutual trust and commitment. There are further reasons why joint venture failed. For example, tensions, which are created when either the joint venture management or the management of the joint venture parents redirects its own strategic business focus. changes key objectives related to the joint venture, or attempts to reposition the joint venture in the markets. It may happen that one joint venture parent may give up being involved in this market, in this industry, because the top management has decided in course of their directional strategy decision to launch a diversification strategy, to launch other industries, other markets, and that may cause that they do not pay the necessary attention in the future related to that joint venture. And always, for all reasons, the key issue, the key point is communication. So the better the communication in between the joint venture partners, in between the joint venture and its parents, the better prerequisites to generate better. But if the appropriate communication is missing, this is the best prerequisite that the joint venture will fail. Other reasons why joint ventures fail can be summarized within the terminology of multiple tensions, as for example, rigidity versus flexibility in terms of the organization and communication. Let's assume one joint venture partner favors a hierarchical organization and top-down communication policy, and on the other hand, the other joint venture partner favors a flexible hierarchical structures and communication style. Then this may serve, or at least this provides a potential risk that the joint venture will fail. And also another reason is short-term versus long-term business horizons of the joint venture partners. According to the academic literature, Asian firms rather favor long-term business horizons. Western firms favor short-term business horizons, and that provides another reason why the joint venture may fail. And another important reason is cooperation versus competition. Parent firms often remain competitors in other business segments. There's a prominent joint venture of Samsung from Korea and Sony from Japan. They established a display joint venture in 2004. So the major aim of that joint venture was to join forces in R&D and manufacturing of flat panel displays to be used in either Sony's television sets and or Samsung television sets. So that means at the previous stages of the value chain related to a television set, they have joined forces. Sony and Samsung have joined forces in a joint venture, making the displays, but related to the TV assembly, using these displays, Sony and Samsung remained as competitors, and it doesn't surprise that that joint venture a couple of years later failed. So therefore, we should always keep in mind joint ventures are mixed motive constructions in which the competitive and cooperative dynamics of the involved partners occur simultaneously. And last but not least, another reason is that the joint ventures are established in markets where the product is positioned at the declining stage of the product and or technology life cycle. Instead of realizing the business reality, the partners hope that business performance will improve because they have bundled their multiple resources, which is often a fundamental mistake. There's a prominent example of a joint venture established in between LG Electronics from Korea and Philips from the Netherlands. They established in 2001 the joint venture called LG Philips Display, manufacturing displays for cathode ray tube TV sets. At that time, the market was already declining and there were little hope for the future. Nevertheless, LG and Philips uh, established a joint venture, hoping that they can better manage the declining market circumstances. But a couple of later, already the joint venture was terminated. It doesn't surprise because the market for cathode ray tube technology-based television sets simply disappeared and was substituted by flat panel technologies such as LCDs and other flat panel technologies. Okay, so this is the literature, among others, I have used to prepare this presentation. If you would like to deepen your understanding concerning strategic alliances and joint ventures, you may take this literature as well. I would like to recommend this literature to you. Thank you so much for watching. All the best in your academic studies, in your exams, or in international business. Thank you once again for watching, and bye bye.